Just kidding. Hey everybody, it's Amy Kuhn here, aka 1028, reporting in from Kids Network Studios. A decent Friday, to be sure. Got locked out of my classroom during my second class. Don't ask. It was pretty funny. We had a good time. But anyways, today we're reviewing Crash Bash. Now, if you're anything like me, you remember this Mario Party style Crash Bandicoot game. Now, what do I mean by Mario Party style Crash Bandicoot game? Well, it's quite simple. You have many games to play in order to defeat the entire game, getting power crystals, gems, relics, anything like that to advance your character, and depending on which side they're on, also advancing their storyline. What's going on this time? Well, it's pretty simple. In a temple somewhere in hyperspace, Aku and Uka are arguing over who's truly stronger. The two come to an agreement that they need to settle their argument. Uka proposes a fight, but Aku declines, stating that no malice can come between them. Kinda odd that he says that post Crash Bandicoot 3 worked, which is kinda like tipping off some bells in my head, like, wait a minute, what? Didn't they just fight each other in Crash Bandicoot 3, and Aku is now saying that there's supposed to be no malice between them? Kinda seems, I don't know, like there's ratty cheese around, but anyway. So, Uka proposes a contest between their friends and minions instead, which Aku agrees to. Moments later, everyone are summoned into the temple, and Uka explains the rules. But, since his team is too large for Aku's team, Aku's like, hey, you gotta give us some of your players because you're not being fair here. So Uka's like, fine, take what you want. So Aku takes Tiny and Dingle-Dial, and the contest begins. Now you need the trophies, you need the gems, you need the crystals. I kind of made a goof here earlier, saying that there were relics, but they're not. But in either event, Uka finds these things to be very useful. And later on, Aku finds out what his brother's up to. Now there are 3 possible ways for the ending to go. Number 1, after nitrous oxide is defeated, the ending plays. And depending on what side you're on, depends on which ending will play. If you're playing as Crash, Coco, Tiny, or Dingle-Dial, the ending starts off with Uka screaming that he's lost. Aku reveals that he knew that his brother had a plan to steal the crystals. He also predicted that good would always triumph over evil. Uka loses his temper and attacks Cortex and Embryo for failing him yet again. Aku, meanwhile, stashes the crystals in a secret compartment, stating they're far too powerful to leave lying around. Uka launches into a serious, angry meltdown, and suddenly a hole in the temple floor opens up, and a swirling vortex sucks Uka inside, just stating, as Aku states, that it's the penalty for disturbing the crystals. The final shot is of Uka screaming as he gets banished into deep space. Now, if you're playing as an evil guy, the ending is much more sinister. Like a storm passing through the galaxy, announcing that Uka had won. Oddly, in this ending, Aku had no idea of Uka's plan to steal the crystals. He only finds out after his brother reveals this to him. Aku Aku's like stumped on how he could be thinking that good can truly be powerful over evil. As Uka Uka is harnessing the crystal's energy, Aku laminates that now that the earth is surely doomed. He pleads to Crash and Coco to run and save themselves. The final scene is where the victorious Uka Uka is booming that there's nowhere to hide from his wrath. Ooh. And finally, after Oxite's defeat in co-op adventure, if one player is good and the other's evil, Aku and Uka will set up a crate crush match, and the team will have to face each other and win 3 times for the ending. Kind of strange, but that's the way it is. Now, I want to point out a few shortcomings here, and these are going to be like my fall points here. I know this was like a side game that wasn't really a part of the chronicles, as it were. It wasn't really a part of the timeline, and I'm glad it wasn't, because there were so many things here that tip you off to, if this is going to be in the timeline, then it doesn't really make any sense. Because really, Aku and Uka fought before during Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, and now all of a sudden they're saying, oh wait, we can't do that. That's kind of yeah, it wasn't a part of the timeline at all, and I'm glad it wasn't. Other than that, Crate Crush, Polar Push, Tank Wars, Ballistics, all these mini-games were amazing. The hard one for me was Tank Wars, because you had to drive around in the tank, you got shoot bangs, and I don't know why I'm talking like this. Well, Ballistics was a kind of like a version of hockey in a way. And of course you got the Poco Logo mini game. That was kind of fun. And you got the Ballism mini game, and then the Snow Bash mini game. That was pretty fun. I really liked all these games. Though, like I said, though, the only thing that I did not like was the Tank Wars. I sucked in it. Crash Dash, was decent, but Evil Mayhem, that was pretty good. But it wasn't, I wasn't that good. But it was a lot of fun. And, you know what, guys? You can say what you want about Crash Bash, like it being a knockoff of Mario Party or whatever, but, I give it a decent 8.5 out of 10. In all honesty, it was pretty good, although it could have been a little bit better. They could have at least incorporated a little bit of the true timeline into this, or maybe perhaps this was intended to be the final game, we'll never know. But even if it was intended to be the final game, they didn't include Crunch into this game, because he wasn't exactly created yet. So, there you go. Alright guys, next time on our Crash Bandicoot series of games, I don't know, let's see here. We're gonna do The Wrath of Cortex. We'll see you guys then. Ooh, I love how I did that. That was awesome. I don't really have to, do an actual outro, do I? I mean, half the time I do, half the time I don't. But sometimes I do, and it's just like, why am I doing this in the first place? In all honesty. Because I already told you guys who I am, so why is this episode still running? Why is it still running?